welcome to episode 1, week 3, how to treat your healthy menstrual cycle. The key goals for a healthy menstrual cycle is reducing inflammation, providing the building blocks for your hormones, and reducing that toxic load. So let's jump straight into the world of food. Emma and I are both massive foodies, and
absolutely.
Really food can absolutely support a healthy period. What we want you to look at is buying organic whole foods that are really high in fibre. It is the fibre content that's going to help with that elimination process on a daily basis, helping you to eliminate those nasty toxins from your body.
The next thing that we would like you to do is reduce all of your pro-inflammatory things. So the key ones we're talking about is gluten, dairy and sugar. Now, interestingly, both Lauren and myself fell pregnant the month after we'd completed my community cleanse. So there's something to show for having cleansed out your body of all of those pro-inflammatory things. And I think you said that your period was much better, right?
It was. Actually, I was mentioning before how awful my period was prior to having bub number 1. I did a 6-month preconception plan with Ems prior to having Charlie, and after I did my first detox with Emma, my next period, I may have had a few little symptoms, but compared to before, I went from being a 2 out of 10 to like a 10 out of 10 feeling great. And that was simply by reducing the gluten, the caffeine, alcohol, not that I drink a lot anyway, and the dairy from my diet. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's remarkable how much change you can make just by doing some healthy, consistent things and cleansing out your body.
We want you to look at adding some extra snacks into your diet, so looking at adding some more seeds and nuts. These are really high in our good fats and help with the inflammation. However, looking at our nuts, I want you not to include peanuts and pistachios. I know they both taste fabulous, but they're actually been found to contain high amounts of mold, which can be toxic for our bodies. And just a bit of a side note on a serving size of nuts, it's really easy to have 1-2 handfuls of nuts. However, since I can't judge how big everyone's hands are, I would like you to keep it to 8 to 10 nuts per serve.
Yeah, it's so easy to eat so much more than that with nuts because they're so moreish. We really want you to use unrefined cold pressed oils. Don't cook with vegetable oils such as canola. Instead, use ghee or coconut oil.
Start consuming more foods rich in omega-3. So these are things like salmon, sardines, nuts, especially walnuts and chia seeds. This is really going to help reduce the inflammation within our body.
Yeah, opt for grass-fed meat. Now, there's a number of reasons for this. First of all, it's rich in zinc. It's also high in iron. Now, obviously, when we get our period, we are losing iron every single month. We need to replace that. But the other reason we want to opt for the grass-fed meat is that it has less pro-inflammatory omega-6s. So when an animal is fed grains, it then retains a lot of the omega-6s within its fibers, and that then causes a lot of inflammation within your body. So particularly if you're having heavy or painful or clotty cycles, then stay away from grain-fed meat, as well as caged eggs. Go for organic eggs, right? Because the chickens also are fed a lot of grains, and the same thing happens there.
So that's it for the food side of things. Now we're going to look at some specific nutrients that are going to complement having a healthy cycle. So that's a wrap on the food side of things. Now we're going to shift our focus towards some specific nutrients that are going to complement having a healthy cycle. The first nutrient we're going to talk about, or vitamin we're going to talk about, is B3. Now this is vital for the synthesis of having healthy hormones, including our sex hormones.
Next is B6, one of my absolute favourites to help beat PMS because it supports progesterone in the luteal phase.
Then we have B9. Now this stimulates rapid cell growth and replication.
Next is B12, which is important for the formation of red blood cells, which is critical to avoid an iron deficiency as we lose blood every month, but also because B9, B12 and B6 work synergistically together to turn the food we eat into energy.
Next we have vitamin E. This powerful antioxidant sacrifices itself in any oxidation that occurs in the body. It may help to decrease the severity of pain that is associated with menstruation.
It is so good for pain, it's amazing. Next we've got our omega-3s. They're an essential fat that play a role in inflammation in the body, but they're also the building blocks of your hormones. They maintain your cell membranes and they produce hormone-like compounds called prostaglandins. that then go on and reduce your pain and inflammation. It's important to reduce your omega-6 sources, such as corn, sunflower, safflower oil, grain-fed meat, caged eggs. The ideal ratio of omega-6 to 3 is a 2 to 1. The average Western diet has about a 20 to 1.
Okay, now we have magnesium. This plays an important role in neuromuscular contractions and the correct functioning of our neurotransmitters. This may assist in the severity of pain and cramping associated with our menstrual cycle, along with some mood stability.
Next up is zinc. It's beneficial not only for our skin, which tends to kind of flare with PMT and it's so frustrating, but this essential cofactor also helps support the inflammatory pathways associated with pain. So it's good for pain. And also supports your neurotransmitters, which lead to a happier, healthier mood. As clinical practitioners, Lauren and I really love the MyGen formula. It's this one, as it contains all of the nutrients we've talked about in a therapeutic dose. You can find that at pharmacies, through your health practitioner, or good health food shops.
So that's it for the food and nutrient side of things. Now let's look at some lifestyle choices that can really support your healthy hormones and a healthy cycle. First of all, let's add some exercise into your weekly routine. I'd like you to exercise 3 to 4 times a week. This is really good for getting that lymphatic system moving around and helps to eliminate those nasty toxins through the correct excretion channels in the body. I want you to look at your fluid intake that you're having on a daily basis and increasing that to at least 1.5 litres of filtered water a day, not total fluid, just filtered water. This equates to 33 mils of filtered water per 1 kilo of body weight. However, if you are exercising on this particular day, I'd like you to look at increasing that water content again on top of that.
Yeah, water is so important. It's something that most people don't drink enough of, and enough of the right quality water. One of the other things that we want from a lifestyle perspective is to have healthy bowels. And you're probably thinking, well, what do the bowels have to do with my period? But there is an enzyme that's located in your colon called beta-glucuronidase. Now, if you have sluggish bowels or a slow transit time, what happens is that the estrogen your body is trying to excrete can become reconjugated or put back together and goes back into circulation, which leads to higher estrogen levels. And this then leads to conditions such as estrogen dominance, which will then have more likely chance of heavy, painful periods, fibroids, endometriosis, you name it, it goes on and on. But having healthy bowels is absolutely important. 1 to 2 proper bowel motions every single day where you feel like you're emptying your entire colon is what's required.
All right, so next we'd like you to reevaluate your personal care, your kitchen and household products, as these can be endocrine disruptors and affect the normal metabolism of our hormones. In a later episode on detoxification, we will discuss this in more detail.
Yeah, you want to avoid products that have sodium lauryl sulfates, parabens, any of those kind of chemicals, because they can then harm your hormone balance. The next thing we want you to do is sleep. Sleep is so incredibly beneficial. When we're sleeping, our body is healing, and we're also releasing those beautiful anabolic hormones such as DHEA and human growth hormone. Now, the problem is that when we're stressed and we don't sleep as well, or we go to bed too late, is that during the day we release all of our catabolic hormones, so our cortisol, and that then causes ongoing problems. So we know how much our body needs progesterone in order to have a healthy cycle, right? So what happens when you're really stressed is that your body will prioritize cortisol and steal your progesterone to make your cortisol. So that leaves you with low progesterone to support your crazy high stress levels. So one thing we want you to do, we'll talk more about stress, but we want you to sleep enough hours and get good quality sleep every single night. Let's talk about testing. There are many ways to test your hormones. Now, as clinical and biomedical practitioners, we thoroughly recommend blood tests in combination with basal body temperature charting. You can learn so much from charting your temperatures over the course of, I recommend, 3 months for any woman, so that you actually understand how your hormones are going, how your body works.
And I think this is also charting whether you have period troubles or don't have period troubles, like Em said, just so you understand a little bit more about how those hormones are working. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk you through what a basal body temperature chart looks like, what a normal one looks like, and what we're looking for when you are charting your cycle. So let's go through the graphic that's just popped up on your screen, which will tie into our basal body temperature charting. So at the top of the graphic, we've got the days of your cycle, so days 1 through to 14, which is the follicular phase, and then day 14 through to 28, which is the luteal phase. Just under that, you'll see the blue line, which represents the basal body temperature. This is the pattern that you're looking for on your charts when you do it at home. So at the beginning in the follicular phase, your temperatures are lower, sitting at around 36.4. Just before ovulation, your temperature drops by about 0.05 of a degree, and then it increases up to around 36.6, 36.7. If your progesterone is sufficient, your temperatures will stay up high all the way through until you actually get your period itself. It's nice and interesting on this chart as well. It's giving us all the different hormones, your FSH, your LH, your estrogen, and your progesterone. I want you just to focus on the progesterone line, which is the purple line, and see how it is quite low throughout the follicular phase. And then for the luteal phase, you can see it really comes up there. Notice how much it actually comes up. So that's an overview of what you're looking for on your basal body temperature charts. It's absolutely fundamental to learn about your hormones, but we're going to talk more in depth about this when we do our fertility episode.
All right, I'd like to briefly mention some of the blood tests that can be done in order to test your hormones. On day 2 or day 3, I'd like you to get tested your estrogen, your luteinizing hormone, follicular stimulating hormone, and your androgens. On day 21, your progesterone. Then other blood tests you look at getting would be your B12, B9, and also one on a gene mutation called MTHFR.
So that's it for week 3. It's such a big week, and there's so many things for you to take on board with this week. So what we'd like you to do is jump on over to our Facebook page, write a comment about this episode or period health in general, then PM us your email address, and we'll email you a free template to use when you're taking your basal body temperatures.
All right, now stay tuned for week 4 of period health, and this will be a summary of the previous 3 weeks plus an action plan for you to implement straight away.
We look forward to seeing you then.